Hi, welcome back. Today we're finishing up the last video from George Mack on the Modern Wisdom podcast and his video on 13 life-changing lessons no one's ever told you. And we're going to roll the clip right now, and then I'm going to talk about it more and break it down into a lot more detail, and the example at the end is really amazing, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, let's go to the video.
Looping back to the beginning of the conversation, things that are sometimes more important than hard work, things that are more important than being busy, is actually understanding the incentives of the systems that you're operating in. And one tweak in somebody's incentives that's working for you or is in your life, the compounding impact that can have is absolutely absurd.
Never attribute to conspiracy what is more easily explained by incentives and incompetence. From Naval.
Yeah. That explains so much of modern politics. That explains so much of people making horrific or inhumane business decisions wherever there's incentives. I always have this idea, which is one good razor that I'm trying to implement is whenever somebody tells me something that goes in line with their incentives, kind of massively downplay that idea and don't just download it. Because in the past, I've done that.
I like this one a lot because it talks about the incentives and how to properly understand other people's incentives. And up here are just some notes I have on it. So their actions will reflect. Oh my God, their actions will reflect what they believe in more than their words. Look at how they spend their time to understand them. This is like one of the best ways to understand people is by actually seeing how what their actions are. Even yourself, like it's sometimes we have incongruities where we act contrary to how we think we believe, but by studying how you actually act, you can then see how you're believing, and then you can look through meditation or mindfulness and reflect upon why you might have those beliefs and then work to actually change them. But unless you actually analyze how you act, you might never actually see that there's incongruity between how you think you act and how you actually do act. So I mean, a great example of this would be someone who thinks they're awesome and then, like, the best person ever, super confident, they think it, they get to a party, they clam up, they just don't talk. Well, that's a huge incongruity. Like, you, if you thought you were great socially, why aren't you talking? And then you look back through and you're like, oh, well, maybe I have this belief that I'm not actually good socially, and that stems from something I addressed when I was a child through bullying or something. And then you look at this and you're like, oh, well, does this belief, you hold it up to the light and you're like, does this belief actually represent my reality? And you're like, well, no, I have awesome friends. I actually do really well socially. It's just sometimes this belief overpowers me. So then once you understand that that belief exists there and you can address it, you can look at it and be like, I don't need this anymore. Just toss it away. And it takes some practice mentally, but like once you understand and can go back through and see where things come from, you can do that. You can toss them out. You can form a better version of yourself. A great example I put up here is it doesn't matter what someone says. If they keep blowing you off, they don't want to see you. I have seen so many of my friends and so many people throughout like high school and college make this mistake with women. And the woman that like keeps her schedule and keeps doing this, keeps doing that. I'm like, dude, she doesn't want to see you. It's like, no. She said that like she has to study for exam. I'm like, no, dude, like she doesn't want to see you. If she wanted to see you, she would reschedule. Imagine, here's a good test. I mean, this is how I want a girl to see me. Like, imagine if you were Zac Efron. Would that girl still cancel on you? Would that girl do, like, would she think this way about you? Like, most likely no. Most likely if she thought you were famous, Zac Efron, someone else, she would cancel all her plans. She would see you as, like, this amazing person, basically do what you want to do and stop, like, canceling things. And look at that. Like, you have to look at through these different lenses of, well, maybe she doesn't see me as though Zac Efron, or maybe she doesn't. I don't mean actually Zac Efron. I mean like the same version of diluted grandeur that we give to celebrities in culture today. I don't know, like the mysticism of like, oh my God, this person's amazing. Like, I don't know, I like it when girls see me like holy crap, you're amazing. I talk and I share, and the more I talk to them, the more I share to them, the more amazing I think I am. It's a really nice feeling to have. So I hopefully others also want to be seen that way, or want to be seen as the prize to be won. Like if the girl's rescheduling you constantly, you're not the prize. Like she has better suitors that she's holding out for, and that's advice I'd give. And then find a way to implement incentives that align with what you want. So right here is really amazing, and we can talk about this in terms of sales, where you hire a CEO and you give them bonuses based on sales. They wind up stacking a bunch of sales up, but you don't actually fulfill the sales. So then the customers get all mad, and it's not actually what you wanted. What you wanted would be like long-term increases in customer satisfaction and retainment. So you need to structure the incentives along that path. Who did this really amazing, and I love how bold he was with it. It was Henry Ford. So I'm gonna roll another clip, and this is a short I found, and it talks about how Henry Ford he had this assembly line, and he had workers whose job was to keep the assembly line running and make sure all the machines worked. But what he did is he didn't pay them for working. He paid the assembly line workers when they didn't have to work. Because when the assembly line workers were working, that meant the line was down and cars were not coming out. But instead, he paid them to actually rest. And I'll play the clip, but the moment the light went red and they had to actually go and do work, they stopped getting paid. And this is a really brilliant way to align incentives for what you actually want. And we're going to play that right now.
Henry Ford paid repairmen to rest, not to work. At one of Henry Ford's plants, a crew of workers was paid to rest. It was a service crew that was responsible for the smooth operation, the smooth running of the assembly line. Simply put, repairmen. They only got paid when they were sitting in the break room. As soon as the red light of a broken assembly line came on, the meter would stop, charging them money. First, they always made repairs promptly so they could get back to the break room faster. Second, they always did the repairs in a quality manner so that they would not have to leave the room anytime soon because of the same malfunction.
I think that's a great out-of-the-box way of looking at how we can align incentives for what we actually want and help grow the company or grow whatever you want to do. Align your family's incentives for where you want to see them. Align your friends' incentives for where you want to be. Like, are your friends dragging you out to the bars every night, or do they want the best for you? Do they want you to succeed and get good sleep and be the best version of yourself? Like, what are the incentives playing here? Just look at it more. Anyways, playlist over here of other videos by George Mack that I've talked about, and subscribe to the channel over here. This is the last video in the series of 13 life-changing lessons, but there's actually like 5 other podcasts that he's done, and I listened to some of those and they're absolutely amazing, so I will be breaking down the clips in those videos. Anyways, peace out, I hope you enjoyed.